Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roosevelt Field for an early playoff battle tonight versus the Pennridge Rams and the Norristown Eagles. My name is Greg Fry, and I'm joined by Walt Fry tonight. This is one of the ones that we've been looking forward to, a rematch from last year's District 1 semifinal.
Well, Greg, if you're going to let me come back for all the good games like this, I'll never stop doing this, because this one is definitely, after some easy games for both of these teams, really, this one is really going to be a test.
Norristown 4-0, having a great season so far, only allowing 7 points in those 4 regular season games. This is a defense that is really fired up and coming out pumped up at the beginning of the game and setting the tone.
Yeah, and that's worth repeating. It's not 7 per game. The only 7 points Norristown has given up this year was in a 47-7 rout last week of Cheltenham. So the defense has taken a lot of pride this year in not only just keeping teams to enough where that offense can beat teams, but shutting teams out. 3 straight shutouts, and then the touchdown given up against Cheltenham last week. So in past Norristown years where we've seen some offenses explode and all defense had to do was just hold the lead, this is a defense that's certainly holding their own and winning games.
And of course, when you talk about the 7 that Norristown gave up, you also have to talk about the 47 that they scored. And we pretty much know who it all starts with, but also that Norristown offense was playing great this year.
Well, it's an interesting offense when you compare it to last year's offense. Last year was such a balanced offense with Chris Blake and at quarterback, some real good receivers. Had of course Troy Swittenberg in his second year as a starting running back. Now Troy Swittenberg comes back this year as a senior, one of the top running backs in the state, just getting better and better. But Norristown has not lost a lot off of that passing offense. They still have some excellent receivers. They're getting production out of the tight end spot, and they have Audley Stewart, who much more elusive than Chris Blake was. So teams now have that extra weapon. Of course, Audley Stewart is 22 for 38 throwing the ball this year. So Roger Grove says he wants to throw it a little bit more, and you can certainly understand why.
We often compare Audley Stewart to a Donovan McNabb. Of course, he's a little more successful than McNabb's been this year.
Well, he's seen a little bit more playing time, but I think Audley Stewart has been prepared. He's been a guy who's been on the varsity level the past 2 years. He got a lot of action at running back last year. Of course, Norristown always with a tremendous stable of running backs. But when you have a guy like Swittenberg, it's tough to get the other guys carries. Of course, when you can blow teams out like the Eagles can do, everybody's going to get some time. So Audley Stewart, we saw him returning kicks last year, and that was traditionally where you're going to put your most explosive, one of your most elusive players. Stewart showed us that last year, and he's now put the whole package together behind center this year.
As I alluded to earlier, this is the game that everybody says will decide the division, with easy games coming up for Norristown against Methacton, Upper Dublin, and Souderton. This appears to be the game that if they win, they can really, they can find themselves a top seed in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, we've gone this long. We haven't even mentioned the division change for Norristown. Of course, going from that Power 10 in Suburban 1 National, coming over to the Suburban 1 American due to the school size. Norristown joining the Liberty Division this year. And yeah, they're now in a battle with Pennridge, really, for Pennridge and Plymouth Whitemarsh for dominance in this division. I'm sure the rest of these teams in Suburban 1 American were not happy to see Norristown come over. I mean, Norristown hasn't really changed that much. This is a team that took West to the wire, that always battled the toughest teams in Suburban 1 National, and was really only second to West over the past 10 years. Now these smaller schools see Norristown come in, and it really cuts down their chances to win a division, and with it, a playoff berth.
And of course, Norristown at number 4 in the state right now. But looking at the 3 teams ahead of them, 2 of them are in the area.
Yeah, and 2 of them were playoff teams from last year. Of course, Central Bucks West, defending state champions, and the North Penn Knights, who have really put together some kind of program up there and are always right there for the playoffs and for the division. Last year, we saw North Penn get the unlucky draw and draw Central Bucks West first in the District 1 quarterfinals or semifinals, excuse me, and of course, Central Bucks West was just too much for them. Again, Norristown battled this Pennridge team, and that was a tremendous game, a 20-13 victory for the Eagles that moved them on to face the Bucks in the District 1 finals to see who would go to the state playoffs. And this is for so many reasons a great game tonight. You have the playoff rematch. You have Norristown joining this new division, really a threat to Pennridge. And it's going to be a way to see, hey, who's going to battle for this division over the next few years.
This may be the year to beat the Bucks, considering they gave up 28 points in their first game, and we've joked about that a couple times. Unfortunately, for many teams around the area. They scored 56 in that first game.
Yeah, well, that's what Norristown. That's where Norristown has an advantage. They can get up for games like this, and you never have that big game, the Central Bucks West game, or now in these days, a North Penn game looming on your schedule. It's really going to be Pennridge and Plymouth Whitemarsh, who Norristown's going to have to look at, and then just prevent any letdowns in previous weeks. I mean, Norristown, we've already talked about their point differential, 152 more points scored than allowed this year. Haven't really been in a contest. So this is going to be a test for yet another reason to see how Norristown really responds against great competition.
We see the three captains out there for Norristown: Jameel Butler, Trey Hadrick, and Troy Swittenberg. And the honorary captain tonight for Norristown is number 5, Audley Stewart. This is going to be a test for that defense. They've only given up 7 points. Unfortunately, this is a team, Pennridge, that scores some points and likes to put points on the board.
Yeah, well, Pennridge is scoring 35 a game themselves. Again, blowing teams out. A point differential of 119 more points scored than allowed. So again, they have a fairly solid defense. Certainly not the gaudy numbers that Norristown has put up. But Pennridge can score. Pennridge can put up a lot of points. They have a wing T offense that they run with 3 or 4 different backs you're going to see tonight. And that really allows them to be diverse. It's going to test Norristown, who's only had to focus on a couple of players in their past 4 games this year.
It was a tough thing for Norristown last year. Not seeing that a lot in that power division that they were in before. Abington really the only team that runs a wishbone type offense. Having to come out and face 3 top caliber running backs, each one who can pick up yardage.
Yeah, and the offenses that they faced last year in the Suburban 1 National, they were more centered around 1 or 2 guys, the good offenses that they faced. When you happen to see those wishbone offenses in the Suburban 1 National, they were usually some of the weaker teams who were trying to spread the ball around but didn't really have one guy to go to, and that's why they had to spread it around. The good teams, the Wests and the North Penns, they have your Dustin Picciottis, your Heike Johnsons. Those are the guys, the one-man shows, and it turns out that that's how you get it done in that league. Norristown could be considered a one-man show to people on the outside. I think when you watch them tonight, you're really going to see that they have a lot of weapons. Of course, Swittenberg's the key guy.
This is a great chance for Norristown to prove that those first 4 wins that have been blowouts are not a fluke. This is a great game for them. They need to come out ready and prepared for this game. We have a great crowd on hand tonight. Tons of fans from Pennridge and even more from Norristown. A beautiful night, a little chilly, should be good. Matt Spicco ready to kick off for Norristown. Fans are ready, we're ready, and we are underway. Kick back to about the 7. Breaks a tackle. Good initial contact, though, there from Norristown to make sure that the runner did not get back too far and get back to the 20. So Pennridge's offense will come onto the field. Let's run that down for you. Their offensive line going across is 64, Kurt Wargo, 56, Dan Reinheimer, 55, Lance Benfield, 68, Mike Nines, and 70, Josh Wall. The 3 running backs that Norristown will have to look at: number 45, Aaron Roberts, 40, Jason Rhodes, and 36, Jim Harris. The tight end is Eric Kraus, the wide receiver is Josh Derry, and the quarterback is number 11, Andy Briner.
Briner, 29 for 52 this year so far, 578 yards, so well over 100 yards passing per game. So Norristown will definitely have to be aware of Pennridge putting the ball in the air. But Briner has thrown 3 interceptions to only 2 touchdowns, so the passing offense can get this from yardage, but it's not doing a lot for him on the scoring side.
Well, we have a chance. We want to run down that Norristown defense for you. Going with that 5-2, doing such a great job this year. Always been successful for Coach Roger Grove. That line consists of number 15, Mike Wilson. 59 is Eric Benitez. 56 is Chris Durante. 57, Jim Davis. And number 25, Terry Powell. The 2 linebackers there are always so important. Number 50, Jameel Butler. And number 7, Lou Samba. The corners, 2 of the most athletic corners I've ever seen in my life. Number 1, Troy Swittenberg. Number 5, Audley Stewart. And 2 of the tallest safeties I've ever seen in my life. Number 9, Trey Hadrick. And 17, the great receiver, James Edmonds.
Yeah, that's a defensive backfield. We'll definitely see their coverage skills tested tonight, but you have some athletes and some guys who can get the ball. Hadrick is catching the ball some at tight end this year. James Edmonds, of course, 2nd year as a star receiver in the state. And Swittenberg and Audley Stewart, your top 2 skill players for the Eagles. So obviously guys who can run. We'll see how they cover tonight, and obviously guys with tremendous hands.
Pennridge comes out in a very powerful offensive look, one running back in the backfield. The handoff goes up the middle. It's to number 40, Jason Rhodes.
And Rhodes is their third leading rusher this year, but had a big game last year. 4 touchdowns in 3 different ways. A couple of rushing touchdowns, caught a 30-yard touchdown pass, and returned a punt for 57 yards for a touchdown. So Jason Rhodes kind of does it all. He's a big play guy, obviously, and they start him out tonight by handing the ball off from scrimmage.
And handoff goes to Roberts, and he gets nothing on the outside. Great penetration from that Norristown defensive line, holding Roberts to no yardage. As you can see with all those running backs that Pennridge has, very elusive so far. They've come with 2 plays that have come from the side and tried to cut up the middle.
Yeah, and especially with those linebackers filling the gaps, they're not quite ready to test the center of the Norristown defense, although both plays have come across the center of it. Pennridge trying to hold Norristown off just long enough to get to the outside.
Back to the original line of scrimmage, 3rd and 10 for Pennridge. Man in motion is Rhodes. Briner drops back to pass. He has time. It's over the middle. Nice coverage there by number 9, Trey Hadrick. Looking for the receiver on the far side. Pennridge will have to punt in their first possession. The 2 men back for Norristown, James Edmonds and Audley Stewart. Dangerous men back there. Usually teams kick away from them. Edmonds will let it bounce. Holds up there. Norristown will get good field position starting from about the 43. Norristown wanting to put some points on the board early tonight. Hopefully coming out and sending a message to the Rams. Set that Norristown offense for you. We'll really talk about the skill players right now. We'll talk about the line all night because they'll clear space for Troy Swittenberg and the other running backs in the backfield. But it starts with the quarterback, Audley Stewart. He's done such a fine job this year leading this Norristown offense. A couple of early jitters in that Wissahickon game you saw earlier this year. He has really settled down and led this team to a lot of blowouts. Stewart back to pass on 1st down. And he is sacked right there. Number 68, Mike Nines, was in on that play. A couple of other Pennridge defenders. The 2nd and 12. Norristown coming out aggressive on 1st down. Trying to throw that pass play down to Edmonds on the sideline.
And Roger Grove said he wanted to throw the ball some more. I think he knows that the good teams are really going to key on Swittenberg and make things tough for them.
Edmonds, the receiver to this side, the pitch to Swittenberg. Can he get to the outside? He'll turn it upfield. Good gain there from Troy Swittenberg as he had many of the Pennridge defenders pursuing him to the outside, and he has the ability to get to that outside and try and cut upfield a little bit.
Yeah, he's one of the top speedsters in the state, so he's a great runner inside, but he will try to get outside.
If you want to talk about speedsters, we look at the other receiver on the other side from Norristown, Ernie Terrell, who is a state track. Can't call him a champion because he wasn't first, but 2nd is pretty good.
He's got a year.
Stewart back to pass. Just over Terrell. We will go to 4th down from the 50-yard line. So for 2 teams that put up a lot of points on the board, scoreless so far.
Well, and yeah, I think they're trying to feel each other out right now, but even with very good defensive numbers, I would not expect to see the defenses win out in this game. I think both offenses are just too good. You're going to definitely see some points put up on the board, but right now the teams are just settling into their first real contest of the year. Trey Hadrick, the punter for Norristown, he's at his own 40-yard line.
He kicks that thing straight up in the air. Gets a Norristown bounce. He'll get a break on that one. Well, sight of that ball for a second as it went above the booth.
I'd say the returner, Jason Rhodes, probably lost sight of it too. Nowhere near him on that play, so Pennridge is going to start with decent field position.
I think you might have hit a helicopter up there. That thing went up so high.
Yeah, Trey Hadrick chasing the blimps away.
So now Pennridge starting from their own 30-yard line. Their second possession of the night. Two receivers to this side. That ball never went forward. An interesting play there from Pennridge's quarterback, Andy Briner, trying to hit a quick play out to the outside and overthrew the man by about 4 or 5 yards.
Well, Briner's top 3 receivers are his backs. Rhodes catches a lot of balls. Roberts and Harris catch a lot of balls, but you're not going to catch a lot of balls like that. That's a play. The long lateral is a real dangerous play, especially against such a speed defense like Norristown. And if you're going to throw it, you better throw it well, and you better connect on it right away. And that's a real shaky play.
It was funny to hear everybody scream lateral on the sidelines here for Norristown. Recovered by Pennridge. That goes quickly up the middle. Number 36, Jim Harris.
Well, so far, Greg, they're now trying to go up the middle, but there's really no blocking. It's almost like they're using the quick hitter and there's some deception to try and create the holes rather than just straight ahead blocking. Norristown's line, not a big line. It never is one of the bigger lines you're going to find in the area, but so far Pennridge has not been able to move them off the ball at all. The linebackers have not even needed to be in the play much. It's really been that front 5 that's been containing Pennridge right now.
3rd and 15. Briner on the draw. Nothing doing there. Number 52, Matt DePiero. 56, Chris Durante in on the play. Pennridge will punt once again. It's a tough hole to put your offense in. You have to make sure you connect on that play because Norristown does not give up big plays on defense.
Yeah, especially with that defensive backfield and against a team that doesn't like to throw the ball long. They're not going to give up a lot of big plays. So that time Pennridge chose to run the draw, run the safe play. They weren't going to turn it over down here, and they'll punt it away again.
Scott Davis is the punter, number 9. Good kick to the outside. Edmonds eludes a tackler. Tries to come back the other way. Good hands of the receiver to hold on to it. He gets to the 38-yard line, about where he started. Once again, Norristown will start close to midfield. 5 minutes into this battle here at Roosevelt Field. Still yet to see a first down for either team. Norristown here on 1st and 10. Backs are in the eye. Terrell and Edmonds, the receivers, once again. The flag before the play. That one's going to be offsides on Pennridge. Their first penalty of the night. Norristown will gladly take that. The game we saw here against Wissahickon, Norristown a little sloppy with the penalties, and they've corrected that problem in the past couple of weeks. Turnover is not a factor for this team, and in this game, a huge factor to make sure that they hold on to the ball. So the handoff to Swittenberg, he'll bounce to the outside. Got himself a first down. There's the exciting play of Troy Swittenberg right there. You think he's down, you think the lineman's got him, he breaks to the outside. He actually ran backwards 2 yards to get by a guy and broke it to the outside for a first down.
Yeah, and speed will do that. Troy Swittenberg is not a guy who's going to lose you a lot of yards. He's not really a dancer, but he has such tremendous speed, and he's so intelligent a running back. He knows when he can afford to go into that backfield a little bit deeper to turn that corner and pick up some positive yardage.
Two receivers to the right of Stewart. Swittenberg up the middle, breaks 2 tackles and got himself a first down. great run right there from Troy Swittenberg, and the line opening holes all of a sudden for Norristown.
And so far, it's been the cornerbacks doing a lot of the tackling for Pennridge. That was number 89 that time, Dan Lorden. And that's never good when you have your defensive backfield making a lot of tackles on running plays.
How can Pennridge stop Troy Swittenberg tonight?
Well, you notice I'm speechless. I don't think anybody's figured it out yet. By far the leading rusher, but they really spread that front line, and so far Swittenberg's going right up the middle on them. They may have to bring some linebackers up.
Once again, the handoff to Swittenberg, not as successful that time. Just what you called for, the linebackers coming up and making the tackle at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and that's the other way, is penetration off the corners. If Troy Swittenberg's going to try to get to the outside, you have to contain him. I don't think that Pennridge has anyone who's going to be able to run Troy Swittenberg down on the corner, especially since he has such great blocking on the flanks. Edmonds is a big guy and a good downfield blocker. Trey Hadrick, a very athletic, very big tight end who can really get out and throw some blocks. So Troy Swittenberg, along with his fabulous speed, has great blocking on the outside. Pennridge will have to do what they did right there, and that's contain Swittenberg when he tries to go off tackle.
Flag thrown, and we're going to have a delay of game on Norristown. So that'll push them back, and the coaches can't be too happy about that.
And especially when you're starting to move the ball some, Norristown is really getting that running game going, and a dead ball foul is not what you really need right there.
Coaches always tell you there should never be a delay of game penalty, and they hate it when you call the timeout, but an unfortunate play for Norristown right there, as now they're back to the 36-yard line of Pennridge, still driving the ball, however. 2nd and 15. Stewart back to pass, being rushed. There's a ball up for Terrell. Just through his hands. He had Ernie Terrell wide open on that side. He had one man to beat to get to the end zone.
Oh, and Audley Stewart has shown a lot of accuracy this year. Didn't need it right there. Just had to loft the ball up, and Terrell was way behind Aaron Roberts. Some reason Terrell looked like he lost it or something, because he just put his hands up and it kind of went right off his hands. Now from our angle, it looked like it was right there in Terrell's hands. It may have been a little towards the sidelines. We can't quite tell from our perspective, so I don't want to put it on any one particular player, but it looked like Stewart had Terrell going to the corner.
Now 3rd and 15 for Norristown. Stewart back to pass once again. Looking down the sideline for Terrell. Pass is picked off on this sideline. That's 45, Aaron Roberts going up with big, huge Ernie Terrell, and he won that battle, a battle that not many cornerbacks win.
Well, the deep ball, the long ball, that's more Edmonds' ball. Now, Ernie Terrell can outrun just about anybody he's going to see this year, but when there's that much loft under the ball, if he has to wait for it, his speed is neutralized. And that time, 3 Pennridge defenders cornered Terrell down there. Stewart had to just loft it up, and Terrell, a great effort to try and come back and get it, but Roberts is a great athlete.
Pennridge going to call a timeout as they didn't like what they saw. Good part about this for Norristown, though, is Pennridge is at the 6-yard line. They're going to have to fight to try and get out.
Yeah, and they're going to have to find a way to move the ball out of there. They certainly haven't shown the ability to do so yet. But I think Norristown is starting to see some openings on the corners there. They're going to tire the running back, Aaron Roberts, out, that's for sure. Roberts is one of Pennridge's main weapons on offense, and he's had to run down Terrell to both corners now playing safety. But that was a pretty easy one for Roberts to go up and get. And I think Norristown's either going to have to throw that ball a little bit earlier or send somebody else down to the corner, because Pennridge was ready for that one that time.
It's an exciting offense that Roger Grove has installed in the past 2 years, and really starting all of it with Chris Blake last year. This is an offense that you never saw pass the ball a lot down, pretty much never downfield. The only passes you would see would be like 6-7 yard passes, dump-off passes. It's really exciting to watch now.
Well, they're 2 very different quarterbacks. Chris Blake was a true pocket passer. Didn't need to get outside, didn't want to get outside. Took a few sacks because he was a pocket passer, but they had a very experienced, very solid offensive line last year. So that line was built to pass protect Chris Blake. And he had great receivers. Damian Solomon was tremendous, more of an over-the-middle type of guy. James Edmonds was great down the flanks. And Terrell caught a couple balls towards the end of the year as the tight end. So Ollie Stewart this year, however, you see him putting a lot more loft on the ball. He's a little bit of a deeper thrower, and he adds that elusive quality.
1st and 10 for Pennridge from the 6-yard line. Breiner's going to hand the ball off. The play is called dead. Yeah. False start on Pennridge. Not a lot of room to go backwards.
Well,
Pennridge is doing it.
You can't afford it down here, but and you can't excuse it certainly, but you can almost understand it because with Pennridge not moving the ball so far this game, they really wanted to fire out and try and get some sort of penetration, and that's what happened. When you try to do that, you'll often have a guy trying to get out there too early. Also, that misdirection that Pennridge uses leads to some confusion on that offensive line.
Half the distance will go to the 3-yard line, 1st and 13. Man in motion to the right side, gets it. That's a safety. Norristown with a huge defensive stop. Looked like that was number 35, John Cochin, carrying that ball. He never got to the outside. Norristown tacklers got him. 2 points for them.
And not the way you thought the points would be put up on the board this game, but great penetration by Jameel Butler. We mentioned those linebackers, and one of the captains for Norristown is Jameel Butler. With excellent penetration that time, but with Pennridge running that sweep, the speed was just not there to get to the outside, and Norristown had time to sniff it out. And you know, when you're running a sweep down at your own 3-yard line, you have not figured out a way to move the ball against your opponent because you want to pound it up the middle, get 2 yards here, 3 yards there, at least try and get your punter some room and get your defense back on the field. But with Pennridge just trying to use some deception, trying to run that sweep, they haven't shown that they can outpower Norristown yet to this game, but we knew coming in they could not outrun them.
You know, Coach Nick Rotundo on that defense has to be very excited. They wanted to come out and prove a point. They wanted their offense to put points on the board. This is the defense that nobody's been able to figure out this year. Once again, they stopped another team trying to get out from deep in their zone, and now they'll get the ball back. Pennridge will kick off from the 20-yard line. Stewart and Swittenberg, the 2 deep men. Kicking off will be number 3, Joe Chapman. Chapman with a good kick, driving Swittenberg back. He drops the ball, he'll pick it up about the 30-yard line. Makes one tackle and miss, breaks to the outside. Once again, elusive Troy Swittenberg. You think he's down, he gets 10 more yards, and he's out to midfield. Norristown, a little bit of momentum going their way now. Great field position, and with a 2-point lead. Sounded pretty weird coming out of my mouth, a 2-point lead, right?
Well, 2-0 looks very strange on the scoreboard as well.
I don't think they cleared the scoreboard from the soccer game last night. Backs in the eye once again. Norristown looking to hold on to the ball for a little bit right now. Another flag.
That was more movement that time on the Norristown offensive side. And really not a very good penalty right there. Not something you need to do. Norristown was moving the ball well on their last possession. And a false start at this point after you've just scored a safety. No need to be moving yourself backwards right now.
So 1st and 15 now for Norristown. They'll come back to the 40-yard line. Now it changes the strategy a little bit. Maybe for Norristown, maybe they'll go right back to Swittenberg. We'll see on this play. Stewart, the handoff to Swittenberg. Looked like he was down, broke it, and got back to the original line of scrimmage. A 5-yard run for Swittenberg.
And it's pro-style running. The legs don't stop moving. You see all your most successful backs run the way Troy Swittenberg runs. low to the ground, legs don't stop moving. Always just little moves, quick moves, nothing drastic, but give you a leg here, take it away, give you a shoulder this way, take that away, and always going forward.
The linemen are going to be tired after a night protecting Troy Swittenberg, as he is always moving, and you got to keep going until you hear that whistle, because Swittenberg is never down when you think he is. Going deep for Edmonds. He brought that down. A great catch by James Edmonds. A good ball from Stewart. Just got to get it out there for James Edmonds. He'll make that catch. Big first down game for Norristown.
And the timing was perfect that time. For a couple of Ernie Terrell's balls looked like they held on a little bit too long, especially the interception. That one, Audley Stewart, just a two-step drop and just fired the ball out there. Really just lofted it out there for James Edmonds and let him run right under it. If you're going to go down the sidelines with these big receivers, that's what you need to do, is right off the line of scrimmage, just put it up there and let him go get it.
To Norristown inside the 35 of Pennridge. Backs are split, and they'll go to Swittenberg to the outside.
Whoa!
Breaks one, spin move, gets 4.
And what can you say? Jason Marr has got to be shaking his head. Great penetration that time. Shot right through that Norristown line and smelled it out. Troy Swittenberg was coming around for the handoff, and Marr was already there and had a great hold on his leg, but Swittenberg just pulled out of it and then just turned it upfield. If that first guy is going to miss Troy Swittenberg, that's going to take one more tackler out off the flanks and allow Swittenberg to get even more yardage.
2nd and 6. Handoff off to the right side. Couple of yards there.
I'm telling you, there is nothing there. Norristown line's been blocking well tonight, but that play, there was nothing there. And Troy Swittenberg somehow found something. But from our angle, we had a real good angle on that play, and it just looked like there were no holes at all. Yet Troy Swittenberg turned it into a positive carry.
It's got that Barry Sanders feel to it, where you think he's down, you go into the hole, he disappears for a second, all of a sudden he pops out the other end, or you see him diving forward.
Yeah, but without all the extremes of Barry Sanders, there's no waste, not that Barry Sanders has wasted movement, but there's no wasted movement on Troy Swittenberg, and it's always a forward run, never back in his own backfield for 10 yards.
Big 3rd and 4 for Norristown. Stewart back to pass, and he is sacked at the 35-yard line. Looked like number 61, Mike Bolzar, in on that. And good penetration from Pennridge, and a huge play right there for their defense to stop Norristown as they were gaining momentum.
Well, and they did what they had to do that time, which was come after Audley Stewart. They were banking on the pass play on 3rd and 4, so they had to come after him because they know if they let the receivers out there one-on-one, it's not going to be long before Stewart finds them. So Pennridge that time blitzed. They came off the flanks and then sent a linebacker right up the middle, and what they did was bust up the pocket and allow Bolzar to come around and get on top of Stewart.
He never want either of those quarters or any of those safeties having to stay with Ernie Terrell or James Edmonds for more than about 5 seconds. Hadrick, a better punt this time. Going towards the end zone. Fair catch called for at the 5. Pennridge receiver dove on top of that. My question is, why didn't he let that bounce? He was at about the 4 or 5 yard line. He lets that bounce, that ball may go into the end zone.
Well, no, I think the ball is going to hit around the 1 or the 2 and most likely bounce in. It's a chance you just don't take, but I would guess on that play, he just didn't know where he was. Didn't quite know where he was on the field. The rule is usually if you're inside your 10, you got to let that thing hit because nothing good's going to come of you catching that ball, and we certainly see it didn't that time.
Once again, Pennridge will start from the 6. Nothing worse than raising that hand and seeing that you're on the 2 yard line. First down, the handoff to the left side.
Get a number out of that pile, Greg?
No idea. And of course, we're in the dark part of the field as everybody's down around the 10 yard line. Come on, fellas, come back down this way, play a little.
Well, at least some positive yardage for Pennridge. They learned from that sweep that resulted in the safety, and that time came straight off between the guard and the tackle, just trying to push ahead. Got 4 yards out of it.
So we're under a minute here in the first quarter. Man motions, they'll go up the middle. Good strong run there by number 36, Jim Harris. Pennridge gets their first down of the night. Almost a quarter into this game. It's kind of not what Pennridge wanted to do tonight.
No, a high-scoring offense like this, you don't expect to go this long without a first down, but I think they were trying to be a little too cute to start with Norristown, and I think now they know they need to settle things down.
Probably the last play of the first quarter. Baxter spread again. Handoff on the reverse. It's Jason Rhodes, number 40, carrying the ball. A little deception there from Pennridge. Norristown played it well, not allowing a big play.
Well, it's certainly not our place to question Coach Jeff Hollenbach, but the reverse you run when you think the team's going to overcommit to the other side, and you really get them chasing, and you wind up with that guy coming back to the weak side all by himself. Pennridge had gained, sure, they gained their first down going off that left side, but it was really only on 2 plays. A little bit early to try and bring out that reverse and think that Norristown's going to overcommit to their defensive right side. And that time you saw Norristown defenders staying home well and were able to diagnose that reverse.
So if you're just joining us, we're in the top of the second inning. The home team put up 2 in the first with a 2-run home run. 2-0, the unconventional way of putting points on the board. Once again, Norristown shut out a team in the first quarter. Exactly what they wanted to do. That had to be their game plan.